Well, Stadia's launch flopped, GTA 6 is sparking new rumors and effectively new discussions, and Xbox Series X box, Series Xbox One X box, Series X is... Stay tuned, because this is REMulous roundup. Alright, so it's your boy, and we are back with REMulous roundup, the show where we cover news so old that it might as well be called olds, because it's not really news if it's old. I mean, I guess you could call it old news, but that's a bit of an oxymoron because it's not new. The point is, we're back with some shit. We got so much to talk about. I know it's been a while since I did REMulous roundup. There's been a lot of things happening. You know, your boys hasn't been covering all of the things. I mean, I did react to the Game Awards. You can watch that stream if you want, even though the Game Awards are trash. So I don't know why you'd want to watch that stream except, you know, to interact with your boy. Well, not interact because it's not live anymore, but to watch your boy. You know, there's tons of content on the channel to watch. Just watch something. We are here to discuss news, and we've got some shit. So we're gonna start this off with Stadia and how they fucking just flopped their launch. I mean, I don't actually know how much they made, so maybe monetary wise it wasn't a flop, but in terms of like usage wise, they flopped. So if you don't already know what Stadia is, it's basically a cloud service by Google that allows you to play your games in the cloud. They will provide you the framework and you will stream the games from their servers to your phone, your TV, your laptop, your tablet, what have you, and it's supposed to be the future of gaming. While I don't deny that the future of gaming is probably going to be more of a cloud-based system because people don't want to have these big chunky desktops, I still think we got a long ways to go, and clearly the release of Stadia has proven that, because a lot of people kind of thought that, well, they're Google, obviously cloud gaming has had its issues in the past, but obviously with a big company like Google, they should be able to build forth the infrastructure to make it work properly. But as we've seen, even Google can't do that, and we'll get into a bit of that why. Right now, we've got an article about Stadia that says, unplayable at times, magical in others. Stadia stream is still in the clouds. Wow. Talk about puns, like it's still in the cloud game, it's still in the cloud, like it's not realistic, but yeah, it was a bit of a lame pun, but I didn't make it, so make fun of Washington Post for that. So right now they're showing the input lag that Stadia has, and it's insane. But that's mainly the main problem with Stadia, is that it's a lag magnet basically. Internet, especially Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi has a lot of interference, and because of that, if you do anything on Wi-Fi, it needs to buffer. Like when you watch a YouTube video, your internet is more than fast enough to handle that YouTube video. So it buffers it in advance, because we know the internet can cut out in little intervals, like split seconds or whatnot. And in those split seconds, they have to recoup. So it will download tons of the video in advance, knowing that the internet's going to cut out in little bits. Therefore, when you're watching the video, it's always smooth. And that's the problem with cloud gaming. The problem with gaming is that it's happening live. It's not a Netflix show that it can buffer the whole episode while it's still in the first 2 minutes. You need to be reacting live as the game is happening in that moment. So any form of interference creates lag and creates problems. So it's not something that Google alone can fix, because it depends on the internet that you have. Wireless is just not the way when it comes to things like this. I use Ethernet in my PC for this exact reason. Like if you want to do anything like streaming or anything, just Ethernet has way less interference because it's an actual thick cable. And if you look at like the way the internet works, the whole thing is just an interconnectivity of cables. My Ethernet cable connects into my router. My router has a coaxial cable that connects outside of the house into like a certain like box or crate or thing that all the other houses cables go into, and then that goes to the ISP. And then there's cables under like the sea, like at the bottom of the sea, that connect from one piece of land, so maybe from like Europe to like America. And these long cables travel all the way there. The whole internet is built on cables. Some people think the internet runs on satellites, but it's really cables. Streaming a game is always going to be so much harder. So Stadia have got a huge hurdle to cross, and yeah, us in general when it comes to the internet, if we want cloud gaming to take over the way they want it to take over. I've been looking at reviews of Stadia, and it just seems like everyone is having problems with lag. All the big reviewers are saying, and the only person who, I wouldn't say didn't have problems, but had less problems was Austin Evans, and people got mad at him, thought that he was maybe being a bit of a shill, or I don't know. And the first time he tested Stadia, he was using Ethernet with his Stadia. There's so many elements to this, but We're gonna get into this article. It says, when played on a browser or LCD 4K TV, horrendous latency plagued single-player multiplayer games, replete with buggy, quick cuts. Precision shots were impossible in Destiny 2, even walking in a straight line was a challenge in the otherwise lovely indie game Guilt, the console's only exclusive title. But then he says while playing on his phone at 60 FPS on a Pixel 3 XL on Wi-Fi, there was almost no blurriness and barely any latency, barring a few noticeable but quick skips during play. So the whole thing is a bit sporadic, where sometimes it's working properly, sometimes it isn't. And obviously it's a first gen product, so Google are obviously going to refine it, but obviously the way they hyped it up was as if, oh, it's going to be perfect from the jump, but anyone who knows about this kind of shit knows that's not how it's going to be. But honestly, in my opinion, the main problem with Stadia is that you still have to buy the games. I know that sounds a bit weird, but you're paying for the Stadia service and you're also paying $60 for these games. I think some games come included, but overall, why would I pay for a game on your cloud service when I could just pay for it locally and actually own it? Yours is in the cloud, so you know what I mean? If I'm going to pay for a cloud gaming service, like, I think Game Pass comes with games. Like, you get it and you could just have access to a bunch of games. I understand the game companies aren't going to do that for like the latest releases or whatever, but I'm still not paying to play your shit in the cloud. Like, what I would rather do is use one of those cloud PC services, have a PC somewhere in the cloud, just load up my Steam account, and any game that I've got on Steam here, I could just install on that cloud PC, and say I go somewhere else with my MacBook Pro, which can barely game, and I've got good internet in some other country somewhere, I could just connect to my cloud PC and then game from that. I'm not trying to buy your game on the cloud server, because that means I have to only get it there, because I'm not going to buy the game twice unless I really like it. They don't have the ability to give us the games. I don't know. Maybe Google themselves will create some game studios and put some big AAA projects out and put them exclusively on Stadia and make it included as part of the package. Who knows? But right now, shit is a flop. It'll be interesting to see throughout the 2020s how they pull it off, if it improves or if someone else comes in and does it better. On to the next topic. We got GTA 6. This article by Daily Star says, huge new Grand Theft Auto map is not what PS4 or Xbox fans want, it seems. I don't know why they're leaving out PC fans, like PS4, Xbox. What about Switch fans? You don't want Switch users to have GTA 6? I mean, sure, it'll be like 15 FPS, 720p, but still, right? You know, still, I really hope they do get GTA on the Switch, but I doubt it. It says here, GTA fans are for the most part in agreement that they want the next GTA map to be smaller, not bigger in GTA 6. Now, as we know, GTA 5 came out in 2013, and they're saying there's a rumor here that production started as far back as 2016. Either way, it's GTA. They're gonna make another one. These things print money, literally. It says here, various rumors and leaks would have you believe that this next game is going to be massive, huge, the biggest of the big, boundary pushing unlike anything you've ever seen. Like my dick, I'm sorry. Oh god. The Project America's rumor would also have us believe that the game will compromise of not just multiple cities, but also multiple time zones. I like that. If the end result is even a fraction close to the rumors, it will be quite a departure for the studio, who have to date largely focused on one map or city. Kinda reminds me of Assassin's Creed 2 versus Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Now, Brotherhood is my favorite in terms of gameplay, but AC2 is my favorite because of the world building. Brotherhood is mainly set in Rome. So you have, obviously, the capital, so one big Rome city, and there's a lot to do in Rome. Whereas AC2, all the worlds are smaller, but there's different worlds. You go from Venice, to like Tuscany, and then the Villa and San Giacomo. I don't remember all the names, but in AC2 you go from all these different areas. But someone has like combined all the AC2 maps and the size of them, and it's about the same as Rome and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. But I still prefer the way it does it in AC2, because even though the maps are smaller, it's different areas, different places with different aesthetics. It feels more like a big cohesive adventure, as opposed to the same amount of like space or map size, but condensed into just, this is just Rome. So I guess it depends on what you prefer. But the more the GTA 6 conversation rumbles on, the more we're seeing fans speak out against this idea that bigger is better. Yeah, it's not about the size of the boat, it's about the bullshit. Most complaints and or suggestions were focused far more on being able to enter the interiors of buildings or giving better, more detail to the barren countryside areas. And that does make a lot of sense, because a lot of these game developers, especially AAA companies, are trying to make these games and they want to be like, yeah, the map is 50% bigger than the last map, and it's like, what are you doing in there? All the buildings are shut off, you can't enter shit, you can't do shit, it's just a stretch of land. And then it'll stretch out the map size by adding tons of just grass and like countryside areas where there's nothing's going on. It's like, okay, cool, it's bigger, but is it better? instead of just focusing on a smaller map, but within that map you're entering all the buildings, all the shops are usable, or you could just do more intricacies of things which make the map feel way more high quality instead of just quantity. There's also a much bigger request from fans, namely involving a greater sense of world building and interactivity. Some of the complaints leveled at GTA 5 included suggestions that NPCs were robotic and almost archaic in 2019. Someone says, I'd honestly rather have the pedestrians interact with each other in the environment more than I'd like to be able to interact with them myself. Medics actually doing their jobs, cars breaking down and being towed away, and random altercations between NPCs would go a long way towards making the world feel more alive. I think it would be cool if you could destroy buildings and then after a few days it gets rebuilt and you can actively see NPCs building back up the structure you broke down. So yeah, basically things that make the whole thing more interactive, as they said there. So yeah, definitely a lot of interesting discussion here. I definitely side on the more interactive world than just having the bigger world. Although I did say in a previous REMulous roundup that I did want to see, at least in my lifetime, a GTA that's like kind of like the size of the whole world. Not in like the entire size, but in terms of like the intricacies of the world. It doesn't have to be exactly the same size, but maybe a smaller version, but it contains the same pieces of land and the same countries, and you could travel from country to country. It's a big feat, of course, but in the future, when they got robots like coding and shit, Rockstar just gonna hire like 10,000 robots to code on the shit, and they'll make the shit even quicker. I don't know, but yeah, a world of GTA, like really, I could just go from like London to like Ghana on the plane and shit. It would be insane. Hopefully, we get this GTA by 2021 on the new consoles or whatever, and in Rockstar fashion, make us wait ages before we get it on PC, but you know, it's what it is. And time for the final story. Oh god, it's back to Xbox and their shite naming systems, like for real. You had Xbox, okay, that's the first one, cool. Then the next one you're thinking Xbox 2, but they call it Xbox 360, cool. 360 sounds cool. Maybe they didn't want to call it 2 because they were going against the PS3, and they'll be in their minds, they might be thinking the customers are going to go PS3, Xbox 2, maybe 3 is better than 2, so they go, well, they went 360, like, I understand that. Next one we're expecting maybe Xbox 720 at that point, then after that 1080, that's all we thought as kids, like, yeah, 720 will be the Xbox One. Why? And then you have Xbox One X. Now we've got the new one, Xbox Series X. Well, at least that's what we thought when we watched the Game Awards, because apparently, according to this article, the next generation Xbox has a much simpler name than you might think. It's actually just Xbox. You know, so now when someone says Xbox, you don't know if they're talking about the brand in general. You don't know if they're talking about the latest console Xbox. You don't know if they're talking about the original Xbox or the first Xbox, aka Xbox One, because that's the first one, right? It's called Xbox One, right? Oh, wait, no, that's the third one. Why, Microsoft? So we already know that the Xbox was revealed at the Game Awards. It says here it was introduced as the Xbox Series X. There's so much in the pronunciation of that. Xbox Series X. But the way the name was presented made it look like the console generation was actually just named Xbox. I didn't think that, but apparently they did. That is the case, Microsoft confirmed to Business Insider. The next generation Xbox consoles are named Xbox, starting with the Xbox Series X. The name we're carrying forward to the next generation is simply Xbox. The name Xbox Series X allows room for additional consoles in the future. You know, if you just use the numerical system, there'll be room for new consoles by just adding a number, right? Like if you'd made it, you know, Xbox 4, there would have been room for Xbox 5 or Xbox 4 Pro or whatever, but you just had I get that they don't want to just copy PlayStation to be simple as fuck, because that would be boring if they were both the same, right? But still, I'm sure you can think of a better way of naming these things. Those of you who watched my Game Awards live reaction stream, I actually did a poll on Twitter asking what people were going to call the Xbox Series X, considering that no one's going to say Xbox Series X in full. That sounds like us. So I had 4 options: Xbox Series X, Xbox X, Series X, and then just SX. And it seems like SX and Xbox X were the 2 winners. It's both blue, but even though Xbox X slightly won, my money was on SX winning, and I actually think that's the best name for it. It's the simplest name, SX. But some people, apparently 15% of them, want to say Xbox Series X in full every time they're talking to their friends. I don't know which kind of people these people are, but there's always someone, right? But you know, I don't want to harp too much on Microsoft, you know. I'm looking forward to the Xbox Series X and whatever they make after that, you know. The DM Xbox Series XXX Tentacion, gonna give it to you. But you know, that's not all I wanted to talk about. As much as I could harp on the name, we got bigger X's to fry. We've got an article here for Windows Central saying everything we know about Xbox Series X. Oh my god, saying that is a pain. Launch titles, specs, updated design, and more. Says here the beastly monolithic device represents Project Scarlet, which is already a nice name. They could have called it Xbox Scarlet, let's be real. As a flagship console set to power the next generation of console games. So you got information on power and specs. Hasn't been fully detailed, but Microsoft has offered us some target comparisons, and we've had some leaks of our own. Apparently Microsoft promised 4 times more powerful than Xbox One X. If they pull that off, that is insane. But, you know, given what happened with Stadia, I can't be trusting these corporations too much. You know what I mean? Like, size and dimensions. Okay, I haven't seen this before. Height, 12 inches. So it's not as big as I thought. 12 inches is like, you know, it's 30 centimeter rulers, you know, it's not too big. I thought it was huge. I still think it's a kind of an ugly looking console. The shape is weird. It's like a cuboid, X cuboid, but I mean, I guess some people like it. I don't know if you can sit it horizontally. I don't think they're ever going to make a console as sexy as the 360 again, real talk, but you know, it's what it is. I guess if it works, right? I'm probably going to be leaning more towards the PS5 as long as it has backwards compatibility. Because I know Xbox are going for that backwards compatibility across all the generations. I gotta say though, I don't like that D-pad. It looks like they're going backwards in terms of D-pad because they had a very defined D-pad on Xbox One, but this looks more circular like the 360 one. I don't know if that's just the way it looks and maybe it feels right. But I guess until I feel it, I won't know. Features and improvements. Games that have loading times of anywhere up to a minute are reduced to mere seconds, with the SSD having anywhere up to 2 years. Oof. Sounds so good. Ooh, they could be leveraging Project xCloud game streaming to reduce installation times, allowing you to jump into your games before they're done installing by letting you stream them. Microsoft also engineered this thing to be as quiet as possible. It better be with the size that thing is and the huge heatsink at the top or whatever that thing is. Under heavy load is virtually silent. New and improved controller, revised more tactile D-pad, okay, inspired by the Elite controllers. I don't know if I think I used the Elite controller years ago. My friend had one, but I haven't used it in a long time, so I don't really remember how well it felt. Said to be a little smaller than the previous controller and probably lighter too as a result. Also has revised triggers with grippy textures as standard. The console is capable of 120 frames per second, complete with variable refresh rates to compatible displays with support for up to 8K resolutions. 4K with 60 frames per second will be a baseline. So yeah, so the average game is going to aim for 4K 60. Probably the AAA titles will aim for 4K 60, and then any indie titles or anything like that can aim for something higher than like 8K or whatever, or maybe just for like Netflix or something. If you want to do some 8K Netflix, I don't know how many things are in 8K right now, but at least the console supports it. Microsoft has confirmed that every single game that runs on Xbox One will also work on Xbox Series X, including OG Xbox games and Xbox 360 games that are backwards compatible. Xbox Game Studios are hard at work on piles of games, and we rounded them all up over here for your perusal. So pretty much the stuff we saw at the Game Awards. Yeah, Xbox One X launched at $499. So they could go up, especially if they want it to be more powerful than PS5. They're definitely going to make it more expensive. But of course, we already heard before that they're going to be making a lower tier version. So I guess that will be the base version. If the main version is doing 4K 60, the base version is probably going to do like 1080 60 or 4K 30 or something like that. Previous Xbox consoles will typically launch in November, so we can expect it in November 2020. But yeah, it definitely sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing more info on the Xbox One. Oh, I keep getting it wrong. Series SX. Right off the bat, I think the PS5 is going to have a better controller based on, I think there were some patents that leaked. I think the console's going to look nicer just because I trust Sony with that. This gen, obviously Xbox barely had any exclusives compared to like PlayStation, you know. But maybe next gen they've learned their lesson and they're going to have more exclusives, because Nintendo Switch recently just outsold Xbox One. So clearly, Xbox know that it's about the exclusives. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for our REMulous roundup. I guess it's the last one of the decade, so you know, we're going to be starting off a new decade and there's going to be new information. There'll be more REMulous roundups. Let me know what you guys think about these things. Are you planning on getting Stadia anytime soon? Are you going to wait for the free version that comes out later? What's your thoughts on GTA 6? And how do you feel about the Xbox Series X? Let me know. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. And yep, more content coming soon to the channel. But it's your boy, REMulous Rem Gang. Also, I need to launch that Rem Gang merch. I said I was gonna do that soon. And I'm out!